In the beginning of the story, we see a birthday party where a group of astronauts and space researchers came. It was a big day for all those astronauts because their team was going to do their first mission on Mars. The astronaut named Loop had to go to Mars and do research. The other two astronauts of Loop will stay in the space station and monitor everything. However, the family of Loop was not happy with this because this Mars mission was going to take 3 years, and by then Luke will not be able to meet his family, but now he had decided to go on this mission. Now after 15 months they all reach the orbit of Mars. As decided, Luke will go to Mars with his 2 astronaut friends, and the rest of the people will stay in orbit and monitor the whole place. Luke starts researching with his 2 friends without wasting time, but now he sees a very big structure on the way in which a white thing was visible. Luke and his friends thought that all these things can't be ice. It looked like there was ice on Mars, but it can never happen on Mars because Mars has such a high temperature that there can be no question of ice form. Luke and his team don't understand all this, so they make a report of all these things and send it to the Earth space station. But Luke and his friends were researching about that big structure. They all wish their friend Jim a happy birthday, who was present in the Earth space station at this time, but their message takes many months to reach Earth, so Luke and his team continue their research without getting a reply from Earth, and now they were all going to that big structure. After that, when Luke and his team reached very close to that structure, then they started hearing some strange sounds. So now they had collected that sound in their advanced device and analyzed that sound and replied it, but by doing this all their devices start getting damaged, and now a very big storm was coming around that structure. That storm was really looking very scary, but now all his friends and Luke get stuck in that storm, and now maybe none of them survived. After a while that storm calms down, and now we can see a very big structure in the middle of that storm. It was a human face of white color, but what was such a big structure doing on the Earth of Mars? This is still a mystery. On the other hand, all the friends of Loop in the space station are not getting any signal of Loop on the Earth of Mars. After analyzing the data of Mars, Jim and his friends came to know that there was a very big storm. Jim and his friends had an idea that the rest of the astronauts on the Loop would have been stuck in this terrible storm. They all try to send a signal to Mars, but they didn't get any reply from the Loop team. This confirms that all of them must have died, but then the whole team of Jim gets a video message from the Loop which was saved from that terrible storm. But his other astronauts' friends are killed, but then the connection of the Loop suddenly cuts off, and now Jim and his whole team were suddenly confused. Now Jim and his friends had found out about the Loop. That's why they wanted to go to Mars as soon as possible to save the Loop, but all of them, Commander keeps on stopping them from doing this, because if Jim and his other friends go to Mars it will take them about 15 months, and by that time the Loop must have died. But Jim and his other friends couldn't let the Loop die, so they request a lot from their commander, and now Jim and his 4 friends get a space shuttle to go to Mars. All of them left without wasting time. Jim and the other astronauts had also started analyzing the environment of Mars. There we find out that Jim's wife had died many months ago, but Jim still couldn't forget his wife's memories, and now after many months of travel his spaceship reaches the orbit of Mars, and now it was time to land on the Earth of Mars. That's why the whole team of those astronauts starts doing this process, but all these things were not going to be so easy. Then suddenly a lot of small asteroids start landing on his spaceship, because of which his spaceship didn't get much damage, but there were small holes in his space shuttle. Those small asteroids were in the hands of an astronaut, but now because of the hole in the space shuttle the oxygen level of the space shuttle started falling down very fast, and if those astronauts don't do anything soon they won't be able to live without oxygen. Then an astronaut named Rory sees that blood is coming out of the space shuttle. That means this was the small hole that was causing the oxygen level to fall continuously. That's why Rory quickly closed that hole, but there were still some holes left. That's why all the astronauts start looking for it. When an astronaut named Lily went out of the space shuttle and took out her drink in space, she was helping him to find out where the hole is. After doing all this the oxygen level of the space shuttle became very stable. That's why all the astronauts start the process of landing on Mars, but they had no idea that those asteroids had made a hole in the engine of the space shuttle, and now the whole team of G models had started the process of their engine without knowing about it, due to which all the fuel starts to come out in space, and as soon as they ignite the engine a huge blast occurs there with the help of all the fuel spread in space, due to which their space shuttle was more than half destroyed. Now the space shuttle of GM and his friends was getting damaged and was moving in space, but then they remember that there is a satellite in the orbit of Mars which had a recovery system inside it, with the help of which they could land on the Earth of Mars very easily. That's why Rory starts moving towards that satellite first, but due to its high speed Rory is unable to reach the satellite and goes far away in space. Lily, who was Rory's wife, with her other 2 astronaut friends reaches the satellite with the help of a large wire, but now she wanted to save Rory somehow, but that wire is not so big that she can use it to save Rory. Rory was telling Lily to leave him and save her life, but now Lily wanted to save her husband somehow, but if Lily did this she could have lost her life because there was not enough fuel in her spacesuit with which she could come back with Rory. That's why now Rory took a very tough decision, and he took off his mask in space, due to which Rory's body freezes suddenly, and he was dead. Suddenly Lily was crying a lot thinking about her husband, but now she goes back to her other friends.